Hey, this is Michelle, and welcome to a new podcast episode. And today I'm going to be talking about how feminism and equality doesn't work in relationships in 2023. So stick around, you're going to love it. Hey, my name is Michelle Chung, and I'm a live manifestation expert, which means I help women manifest their soulmate live in person, offline. And I help career-driven A-type alpha women find their man so they can have the amazing, committed, and effortless relationship they deserve. So I was talking with my client, and she believed a lot in equality and fairness. It was a really interesting conversation. She talked a lot about how things had to be 50-50 in relationships, and I suppose she believed in feminism, that women can do everything that men can do. I suppose this also came from the way she had seen her parents in growing up in her childhood, and the way I'd seen my parents as well gave me a lot of direction into feminism. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is that I believe that feminism is now a broken model. It served the purpose. It was a correction, basically, but I don't believe it's a new way forward. The suppression of women over centuries our patriarchal society led to this correction, the feminism we experienced in the 1960s. And as the universal law of balance says that every um, polarity must come down, and well, sorry, that was the law of rhythm. Every upswing needs to come back to a downswing, which is a correction. You'll see that in the stock markets, in property cycles, in almost everything you see in nature and in our human world, that there will be a correction. So I believe that feminism is actually a correction for humanity. And as we come into more a feminine and intuitive age of time in our world, we'll start to see the rise of feminine qualities and traits like vulnerability, intuition, authenticity. These are already happening in the workplace as corporations also move towards a more feminine, balanced way of working. The autocratic, aggressive system has churned out a lot of employees, and people don't want to come back to work if your workplace sucks and is very um, aggressive and uncomfortable to be in, right? So it makes sense that this correction into of feminism into femininity um, is a huge part of our world right now. So how does that work in relationships? So basically, what you want to have is a balance, femininity, not feminism. So as I mentioned before, the laws of the universe is about balance, polarity, and the law of rhythm. That there is actually no such thing as equality or fairness between men and women. This idea of fairness, it also um, tends to give people a way of righteousness that, oh, that's not fair. Things have got to be equal. It's got to be like that. There becomes a lot of pride and a lot of indignation when something is not fair, right? But the world is not about fairness. The world is about balance. There's another law called the law of sacrifice, and it says that you must give up something of lesser value in order to receive something of greater value. And if you try to hold on to everything in the name of equality and fairness, that's actually living in scarcity mode because you won't be able to receive anything better. If you're trying to hold on to everything to keep some sort of balance in the way of equality and fairness, then that's not about the natural cycles of giving and receiving. And that's what nature is all about. So nature is not about equality, it is about giving and receiving. So a very primal example is that an animal gives up its life in order for another to live. A plant must also give up its life for another to live. And, in the business world, a client must pay money in order to receive services they want. There's nothing that's, for free, they say. There has to be some kind of giving and receiving. And that's about the balance that we see in relationships. So if in a feminist point of view, you might believe in equality, equal pay for equal work. Some of these concepts I do agree with, but technically, what is equal work? There is never really any equality because we are also different and unique. what I bring to the table is completely different to someone else. Their background, my background, their personality, my personality is different. Their attitude, their energy and mindset, we all bring completely different things to a job role, a business, a client, a relationship anyway. So what is equality? It doesn't really exist, does it? It's this very base level concept of equality and fairness that we need to let go of in order to receive our ideal partner into our lives. So let me ask you a question. In terms of relationships, don't you want someone to love and care for you, look after you? So you don't have to be the strong one and you don't have to wear the mask or wear the pants all the time. I know that I didn't either. Actually, my exes, they always commented how soft-hearted I actually was because I'd always put on this tough exterior, and they didn't realize actually how much I craved that I wanted to be vulnerable. I just wanted to relax and let go and actually be loved and cared for. I didn't even realize that was something I wanted for myself. It was such a deep, I guess, biological need just to be loved and looked after and cared for. Not saying that I couldn't do it for myself. And I'd been doing that for myself for such a long time. I'd forgotten how to allow others to contribute and to help me. So um, that idea of equality, that's absolutely it's a broken model. So because in the end, in a relationship, women want to be loved and cared for. That's our biological, I guess, primal instinct, our core. That's what we want at our core. And for men, all they want is respect. Their basic programming, it's not actually about the same, about love. It's not what they want is not the same thing as what we want, which also is another argument in the case for equality. We don't have that equality in our relationships. For men, their core premise in a relationship is actually to be respected. And it's a really interesting concept actually that my partner Raf, who's also a coach, he introduced this book into our relationship. It's called Love and Respect. And when I was reading it, I was really shocked. I had no idea. It's like the same concepts of, men are from Mars and women are from Venus. It's the differences between men and women. So hence, again, there is no equality. There's no um, apples for apples. We're just apples and oranges, aren't we? The idea in the book was that men wanted unconditional respect just as much as women want unconditional love. And for me, this unconditional respect idea was such a challenging concept for me to get my head around because I'd always believed that respect needed to be earned. And it really blew my mind, but it made me much more aware of the different needs of men and women. And so when I asked my client to be open to a new perspective about relationships and that a new perspective that could be possibly a better model to follow, she was open. And especially because she'd been using equality, this feminism concept most of her life, I suppose, and not been getting the results that she wanted. She was really open to trying something and seeing something new. So she was amazing. She's really coachable. So she was really open and she wanted to get results in her life and meet a new partner and have a family of her own. So could she accept a new belief about balance and not equality instead? And later she sent me a text message and she wrote back and said, our conversation about balance, not equality, really changed my perspective about equality in a relationship. And that I can strive for a relationship where it's more about balance and playing into my strengths rather than predetermined gender roles. I just love that. So she had seen her parents in that traditional gender role, like I had, where my mum was subservient to my dad. He made the money. He, I guess, created the plans and things like that, and she looked after the kids. So these are very traditional, stereotypical gender roles that our parents' generation had. And I suppose she didn't want to be following this kind of traditional stereotypes, and either did I. And I'm sure a lot of you or a lot of the women that you know don't want to be following this. And I guess that's why we're in the situation that we're in right now. I didn't want to be subservient to anyone. I, was super ambitious, and I, had my own plans and my own ideas about what I wanted to do with my life. So, as my client said, she saw that balance is more about what the individual strengths each person brings and balancing that in the relationship rather than the stereotypical gender roles that a woman has to do this in a relationship and a guy has to do that in the relationship. And so the other question and a common theme that happens now is what if the woman makes more money than the guy and the guy is happy to be at home with the kids? This can also be a form of balance. And, there's nothing wrong with that. And it happens all the time quite well. Although I must say that income and money is much more a primal masculine instinct, especially for men, to provide. And it's that they're more likely to feel the connection to self-worth and money than perhaps women do. It's something that I'm seeing, well, also for myself being quite a masculine woman, and I'm super ambitious and driven as well. And if you're like me, then maybe you're a type 3 Enneagram who have much more masculinity because part of this personality trait is ambition and being really driven and really, I guess, stubborn because you really believe in you're meant to be discovering, like you're on a mission to reach your potential, and it's your job to help others around you discover theirs too. So there's very much a type 3 Enneagram personality. And so this is inherently already a very masculine trait. And so for me personally, trying, my journey of balancing that and finding a man who's also comfortable and balanced in his masculinity, but also is balanced with his feminine side as well. And that's what I have with Raf. So I'm very grateful and very lucky to be in a relationship like this that I'd created in my manifestation. And so the question is also, can you look instead for balance in a relationship? This age-old idea of opposites attract, but redefining what it means opposites attract. So I have a model that I created. It's called the love journey model. And it's talking about how the journey between from dependent relationships, as Stephen Covey says in his book, The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, that when you're in a dependent relationship, you need somebody to balance you, because you inside yourself are not balanced and you're not maybe done the inner work, or you have a lot of trauma and you need somebody for emotional, psychological support, or even physical support. And that when you're balanced within yourself, that you will attract an interdependent relationship instead. And then that can be a more balanced partnership because each person has done their own personal growth. They've used a lot of their experiences to grow and to understand fully who they are. So this actually creates an opportunity to invite another balanced person into your life who will complement you and balance you in other ways rather than on a psychological needy kind of level. So this idea of a healthy interdependent relationship is more about outsourcing the stuff that you're not so good at so that you can focus on your strengths and focus on empowering your feminine energy instead. Does that make sense? So instead of fulfilling the traditional stereotypes of gender roles, it's more about what are you like, just like in your business, what are you best at in your business? Can you bring that out and that those unique points about your business? What are your unique points about yourself? What are those amazing points that are very like desirable and very attractive to the right person. That is going to be your balanced match. That is going to be the person who's going to want that for themselves, not because they don't have it, but because that will also help them reach their potential in their life path as well. So this idea, to summarize, is to look for relationships of balance. But after you've also done a lot of your inner work to balance yourself, and that the idea of feminism, this equality, that yes, of course, women can do that too, but do you really want to? Do you really want to be um, constantly driving the direction of your relationship, that you don't have that balance from your partner who also wants to drive the relationship? Can you let go of some of those roles that masculine men would naturally be good at? Can you let go of those so that he can move into his potential and fulfill his potential within your relationship as well? That's also about allowing your partner to come into his masculinity so that you can come into your own femininity. Hope this has been valuable for you, and I look forward to hearing from you. Make sure you leave me a comment in my Instagram at Michelle Chung Coach, and I'll see you next time. Have an amazing day. See you.